Welcome to Ageless by Rescu. This podcast is devoted to exploring the science of rejuvenation, uncovering the most trusted experts, the must-have products, innovations, and technology in the field of vitality, aesthetics, new beauty, and cosmetic enhancement. Game on. Well, this has been a long time coming. I think the last time we attempted to record this, I hit pause because I was so exhausted. It was just before Christmas last year, if you can imagine.
I remember.
And now, it as with everything in life, it's perfect timing because we have so much to celebrate on your end, my friend, my beautiful friend, with the relaunch and the rebrand of your incredible health business with Maha, SWIISH.
Thank you.
How good is that? How good is the storytelling? I watched your launch video and I cried.
It's look, I think the story is the story. It's how our brand came to be. It's how SWIISH was born, and I think we spent so long working on this. I say rebrand, but really it's a new look and feel, but actually the heart of our business is the same. It's the same as it's always been. And I think as part of this sort of new look and feel, we wanted to go back to our roots and talk about where we came from, talk about how it came to be, talk about why are we here? Like we could do anything with our time, but why is it that we do this? And we wanted to, I guess, share that for people who maybe have come to us along the way or people who have heard of us but don't know how it came to be. And, you know, wellness has changed a lot since we started. It's a lot more crowded. It's a lot more, you know, it's trendy, but we didn't come to it because it's trendy. We didn't come to it because, hey, everybody is doing that, so we should do that too. We came to this business and this brand from a very much from a heart-led space, and we wanted to go back there and share that and explain. So I'm glad it resonated with you.
It really did. And I'm wondering, do you think that it's also got to do with where you guys are in your life? Because, you know, Maha is pregnant again. So she's birthing, and, you know, you're coming up to a milestone birthday, and like it's such a pivotal time in your life. And it does. I was listening to this podcast with Marianne Williamson, actually, and she was talking about the third act of your life. And I really feel like when you do kind of enter that phase of your life, and I certainly had that experience this year, funnily enough, this year, where you do go back to the why, and you really only want to do what you love. And it becomes actually super easy to get rid of the extraneous friends, extraneous responsibilities, extraneous clothes and commitments. And I'm wondering, you know, was part of the subconscious part of you guys really going into the heart of SWIISH and sharing that in a new way, part of your own personal evolution?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, we started this, to be fair, 18 months ago. So, you know, kind of before Maha was pregnant and before I was coming up to a, you know, big birthday, and before any of that, we actually kind of about 18 months ago were like, we knew we wanted to do this. And as part of that, we were like, before we work out where we want to go, where did we come from? How did we, like, if we go back to our steps, who were we when we began? Because when you start something, you're actually a very different person, you know, like, or certainly like for us, we came into it, I don't want to say naively, but I say naively because when I hear people talk about their businesses now, it's very much like, I've made a brand deck, I've got a 5-year plan, these are all my fonts and colors, this is the vision selling out in 2 years. And I was like, oh, wow, we didn't have any of that. We like came into it, I guess, so organically, and from a genuine, I guess, heart-led space and wanting to make a difference in people's health, that all of these things that I hear people talk about are so slick, right? And I'm like, oh, wow, we didn't do that back then. So we wanted to go back and go, who were we when we began, and where did we start from, and why did we do this when we started, and how have we evolved, and how has our customer evolved with us and our community, and where are we now, and what is it that we're trying to explain and share with you as we move forward, because we're moving forward forward, all of us together. You know, it's not like we're not taking our customer with us. We're all on this in this together. You know, we get up and we do what we do for them. And so
One
it
of
allowed
the
us
things
to
that
look
is,
back.
sorry to interrupt,
No.
one of the things that I think makes your brand so unique, and I'm always in awe of how much the journey is about your community, is that they really are on the journey with you both. And I think that, you know, there's no brand marketing. It's you live and breathe the wellness brand of SWIISH, and but also it feels like, certainly for me, and I, you know, I've bought lots of your products, I've bought your books, I've attended your webinars, I've gone to your events, I bought the smoothie packs, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
when you
Yeah.
launched those. You know, I wake up with you, I go to sleep with you. You know, there's a lot of you in my life on an everyday basis. And of course, whenever I have like a business, you know, idea crisis, or love life, you know, you guys are on speed dial for that as well. So, but I think it's really interesting because something that you said, you know, you're doing it all for them, and it comes from a heart-led space, but they follow your journey. So, I mean, you really are walking your talk. You recently shared an incredible personal and physical transformation. Not only did we watch you, you know, transform how you look, how you move, how you feel, but you then kind of unpacked it for everyone. And also same with Maha, you know, on her pregnancy journeys, on her life journeys, on her career pivot journeys, you know, nothing is left unsaid. The kids are on, the husbands are on, it's game on. Like, we are in your world. And I think that that's a really interesting thing, because, you know, we often look and talk about the younger influencers or business owners. And, you know, as you said, long are the days where you have like a pitch deck and all your font, everything is aligned. Most people stumble into their passion projects and then turn it into a business. But, you know, you took on like a young person's game, for lack of a better word, and like killed it.
Maybe it's because, again, coming back to how things evolve organically. And I think it's because, well, one, I was in a media career, so I was already very accustomed to sharing. So I think I kind of had that. And then when I had my cancer experience, that it was I felt like it was a very public experience. People were very much, they felt very connected to the fact that I was pregnant and had cancer. They felt very connected and really were kind of, you know, they were praying for me and hope, and like they wanted the best possible outcome. So they felt very connected, and I felt very connected to them, because to have people's love and goodwill, people who you don't know, who don't know you anything, who don't want, and then they care, that's a gift, right? So maybe it's almost like these things happen sort of so slowly, so incrementally. It's not sort of like I woke up and was like, husband, kids, guys, I'm turning on my phone and we're all on. Everyone, performance faces, you know.
Yeah.
So it kind of was all very organic. And you know, this was all before Instagram, so it was before all of that. We had Facebook, and you know, like it was very kind of slow and gradual. And I think because I am a sharer by nature anyway, right? So it's not like I'm not introverted. I'm very much, if I meet you in real life, I will share, you know, like it's not a stretch for me. So it's not like I'm having to perform. That's just who I am. So it's all kind of, for me, it feels very organic and very natural. And I kind of don't know any different, you know, so it's not like, and you would know, because like, you know me. So it's not like the you that knows me behind the camera is different to the Instagram me. Like I'm not putting on anything. Like it's with the exception of, you don't see me kind of yelling at my kids about toast and shoes and, you know, swimming costumes and, you know, all the shit show that happens in the morning. But the rest is all, it's the real deal. And I think it's very, I like to be close to people, and I like to be an open book, and I like to be connected. You know, that's actually just, I think, what floats my boat, which is why I find it really easy to do, and very, very easy, I think, to connect with our customer.
Can you share with me your transformational journey that you started, I think, a year ago? It was fitness, it was energy, it was reclaiming your body,
Yeah.
and really a reset. And the reason I'd like you to share this journey is not because and because you really look incredible. And it's such a great ageless story, because I truly believe, and I've seen it and I've tried it, that it actually, you can look your best you've ever looked, better than your teens, better than your 20s, 30s, at any age. But it's kind of the ingredients that you put in, and the lifestyle choices that you make. And you really were a perfect science experiment in that. Can you share that journey with us? Because some of us who, who are watching or listening maybe haven't caught up to that
Yeah.
one. I would
Yeah.
love for you to lay it out, because you lost what, 22 kilos?
22 kilos. Yeah, I lost
You
20
didn't
kilos.
even
And
look like you needed to. That was the crazy thing.
well, that was the thing. And I didn't set out to either. I didn't set out on it. It was not a weight loss mission. It was not any of those things. And I preface this by saying, we are not our weight. And I say this all the time. We are who we are on the inside. It's not the number. It's not the number on your clothes. It's not the number on the scales. It's about how you feel and who you are as a person. So, and certainly as running a wellness company, I'm not here to push the diet culture. And I always
No,
say,
and we're not talking about this in the context. You're absolutely right. It's good to preface this, because it's actually, that's just one part of it. And all the longevity studies that I read, and all the professors that I've interviewed and doctors I've spoken to, a healthy weight is really just a conversation about longevity and energy and lifespan and health span. And I know that you are deeply immersed in that scientific side of things, having a wellness company, and also you're always researching. I think, from what I understand, you started off from a perspective of energy, longevity, and also because you'd had cancer, you wanted to make sure that your lifespan and your health span were optimized.
always. And I had really noticed that in the few years prior, and I think it's just life and the demands on your life, that what had happened was my fitness. I really noticed my fitness was struggling, and I was opting out. And I think when you've got like young children and they're still very active, so they're not like kind of dying to stay home and kind of, be on their devices. They actually want to be out. And I was like, who wants a movie? Like, I'm trying to, like, because I had let my fitness slip. I was kind of so, I just wasn't in my peak form, and it was simple things like going to the park that I was like, I just don't have the stamina for this, and I got to this sort of kind of pre-Christmas of the year prior, and I thought, I just want to be a bit fitter, and I want to be a bit healthier, and I want to be able to, I don't want them to outrun me. I've got 2 young girls. I don't want to miss it. I don't want to be sending them off to the park with their friends or with their dad while I'm just at home, because I've missed this window to kind of pull it back into line. And I am an all or nothing personality. So my typical, thing with something like this is like, I'm all out. I buy all the gear, and I set these insane, goals, and I don't achieve them, because of course you're not going to. It's things like, that's it, I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. every single day, and I'm doing 6 different gyms, and I'll do 2 at Pilates, and I'll never have a day off. And I'm, and that all or nothing personality serves me incredibly well in many areas of my life, but it always has failed me in the exercise department. Like, it's always let me down.
And you have a fitness background, right? You
do
were
have
actually
a fitness background. I was a personal trainer and a Pilates instructor for a few years. And it's funny how, but essentially at my core, like, I did not grow up doing sport. And it's funny how, so I grew up not really doing any sport. I don't come from a sporty family. And then I had a period sort of in my 20s where I put on a lot of weight. I was in a job I hated. I then sort of slowly got fitter. I was trying to get into TV. I became a Pilates instructor and a personal trainer, and I loved it. And in that period, I was pre-kids. I've got time. I really loved it. Hello kids, hello cancer, hello all of those things. And it's funny, you slide back into your core, which is actually, for me, not exercising. And I have friends who've grown up sporty, and that always will go back to that. It's almost like your body and your mind, that's how you're naturally programmed, and I'm not naturally programmed that way. And it's always the first thing to go for me. It's always the thing that's like, it's not that important. And so when I got to this point where I was like, this actually is important, and it's not because it's important for anyone else. It's important for me. And I was also finding I actually needed time. I needed some time away from everybody, needed some time. It's almost like mentally and physically, I wanted to regroup. And so I was like, I'm not going to do my all or nothing. And I had watched Marcus, my husband, a year prior to me, because he's a different kind of personality to me. He's much more slow and steady. He had said, look, I'm really going to get fit this year and I'm just going to do half an hour a day. And can I tell you, I scoffed so loudly and just was like, oh, like he will achieve nothing in 30 minutes. And what is he going to do when and he was so, because that's his personality, just be like, just chip away at something, just very slow, no extreme. And I was like, if you don't go to the gym and if you don't do weight training and if you don't do, this, you'll actually never achieve any of those, well, lo and behold, what a difference a year can make. And I watched him and I thought, wow, maybe. And it was during the pandemic, and baby, it's a blessing. The gyms were shut and all of that and all those kind of extraneous things that I naturally lean towards, like I'll buy all the clothes, I'll get the sneakers, I'll join up everywhere. They weren't available to me. So I was like, okay, now I'm going to take a leaf out of his book and just go so simple. And that it's against the grain for me. It's not what I like.
You walked, right?
I walked. That was it. I literally got up, I got out my door, and I did. In the beginning, I would only do 20 minutes. I moved up to 30 as time went on. I'd have like an ebook or an audiobook or a podcast in my ear. And that time to me became mentally so valuable. Like as I got stronger, I think physically, I also just really kind of found my space again after a very crowded decade of being pregnant, having cancer. I spent a couple of years working on having a baby via a surrogate, which was like a full-time thing for like 2 years. We built the business. Like it had been a very, then you've got young kids, like a lot was happening. And I emerged from this kind of 10-year period and I was like, I just need a minute to catch my breath. And I needed to catch my breath almost on these 30-minute walks every day. And it was transformative because it was just steady. And I did, people I know get fixated on like, well, what did you eat? And what, and it's like
and you're a cook. I mean, you've published what, 5 cookbooks?
5 cookbooks. I love to cook. I love to
go out
eat
a lot. You eat, you drink, you do
Correct.
everything. Like there's no
everything.
kind of deprivation model.
No.
You're not a yo-yo dieter. Your weight has been the same. It's
Correct.
really interesting, and I think that's what made that journey really fascinating. Are you perimenopausal?
I'm in menopause.
Yeah.
I'm in. My peri was like, right pretty much not long after I had finished all my cancer treatment. That tipped me into menopause. So yeah.
I asked that because again, you hear all this stuff that you just have to make peace with the fact that you're going to be a little bit heavier. You're not going to be as firm. I don't believe that. I'm menopausal too. I am the fittest, most toned, strongest, healthiest. I feel like completely awake, alive that I've ever been. I have like a full sex drive. I have energy surplus.
Don't you think you have to? I think it's like you have to. I'm trying to think of an analogy that's similar, but you have to. It's good to acknowledge it, but I think you have to work out. You've got to go, what does this period of my life require? And you can't. I don't think like kind of throw your hands in the air and be like, oh, I'm menopausal. This is too bad. I think it's like you do need to you do have to eat well. You don't have to yo-yo diet. You don't have to starve yourself, but you do have to eat well. You do have to supplement, right? You do have to move, and you will have to do weight-based training in order to kind of compensate for that loss of muscle tone. Like you do, and you have to monitor. This is the thing I think you have to monitor. You can't just be like, oh, well, last year I did this, so if it doesn't work anymore, then it's failed. It's like, well, no, you actually need to, it's kind of like, just because you bought Vegemite once doesn't mean you're going to buy it on every single shopping list. You're going to monitor. You open the pantry, you're like, what do I need? What has changed? What have I used? Monitor.
Speaking of monitoring, and we've talked about this as well, I'm a massive believer in a health dashboard, and I can only imagine had I had something as serious a health issue and scare as cancer, that I would become super pedantic about measuring, monitoring, and evaluating where I am now based on the data. what do you do? What are some of the health tests and the monitoring things that you do that are non-negotiable for you and you always recommend to other people?
Look, I do bloods once a year because I do like to see, like, am I, am I low in iron? Am I low in, B12? Am I falling off anywhere? But honestly, one of my biggest monitorings is my mental state. Like, actually, because I think when you go through something like cancer, you can very easily, and I'm not even just kind of talking about going to therapy in the aftermath to sort of recover from the trauma. I even just mean, even now, say I'm 10 years later, you can be triggered into almost over monitoring because you're so afraid, you're trying
That's
to
what
have
I was
control,
saying.
right? So that's actually the part I've worked the hardest on, because I have to accept I have some control, I don't have all control. So it's like, what can I within the realms of what I can do, what can I do? I can eat well, I can supplement, I can sleep, I can make sure I have fun in my life, I can make sure I feel good if I need to, and if I need support in any of these areas, I've got to get it. But I also have to make sure I don't become so afraid that I can't live, because that can happen. That's a very real thing that can happen to me. We can become almost so fixated on controlling. It's like you can control as much as you want, but in essence, you could step off the footpath and get hit by a bus. So it's like, if you control too much, you can also end up ruining your life, and you're so lucky to be here. So it's that fine balance that I've had to find in order to have control and work with what I can to make my health as strong as it can be, but not be so controlling that it becomes obsessive.
When you do your bloods, because one of the things, I've talked about is this year I launched a virtual clinic as part of the Ageless by Rescu.
Such a great idea.
And the reason I did that is everyone kept on asking me, where do you go? What do you have? And I thought everyone needs to have this.
Yes.
Super easy to get. Most doctors don't offer it to you. So we have access. We've partnered with a laboratory, so you can get all of your pathology requests. You can get your reports sent to your doctor or have them for yourself. And also, and I should say that we've partnered with SWIISH as one of our supplement brands. And the reason I partner with you, not just because I love you, because I do, but because I trust you, because I've tried the products, because they work. And I believe that you are a living embodiment of the brand. But further than that, you work with experts. You haven't put the things together yourself. And the programs and the products that you've created has been created with people who have, scientific experience and education in naturopathy, nutrition, health. So do you also, for what you take, obviously you take a lot of supplements, mainly your own, I would assume. How do you find the best ones for you? Do you see a naturopath? What do you do to make sure that you're taking the right things for that phase of your life?
It's funny. I've become quite in tune with my body, so I can really tell the difference. Say, for example, if I go a week, say, without greens, I can feel the difference in my energy levels. I can feel my sugar cravings because I naturally am a sugar. I don't know if I'm wired that way. I'm definitely a sugar craver. I can feel the urge come back. So I've become a lot better at being very in tune with my body. So I don't necessarily see anyone, but I also don't just take for the sake of taking. Like, obviously I have access to everything that we have, right? And I say this to people when they're like, oh, what should I get? I'll just get everything. And I'm like, don't get everything, and it's very rarely do people say don't get everything, but I'm like, ask yourself, what are the key areas that you are struggling with? So, for example, I struggle with my sleep, right? Like, I have a very overactive mind, so I always take the sleep powder. But say if I'm going through a period where it's fine, like I'm finding that I'm able to go to sleep, then I don't take it. You know what I mean? So it's actually about monitoring, but my non-negotiables, because they're the baseline for me. So there are things that you can tap in and tap out of, but my baseline things are, like, obviously always collagen for skin, greens, I think, for just general, like, energy, because none of us get enough greens. They're very hard
Absolutely.
to, like, it's just.
I give the greens to Lily as well. And you know what? I just feel like I'm being a better mother when I just give her that in her juice, because
It's
it's just going
so
to pop
good.
up all the nutrients, and she feels that it makes her skin better. And I think that
Oh,
that's
so
lovely.
good. That's
Mm.
so good. It is such a good one. I think, like I think there's some baseline ones there that you just, and I take care of metabolism, because just coming back to menopause and that whole thing about, oh, well, that's, like like your metabolism has changed and it's just not what it used to be. And it's like, yes, that's correct. But for us, for example, that's why we formulated metabolism, because that was important. I was like, I don't want to just roll over and be like, my metabolism's changed, shrug my shoulders, too bad. It's like, well, if something can be done, I want to take it, and I've seen a massive difference with that.
One of the things that you've got the intuitive ability to know what your body wants, but a lot of people don't. So when we
Mm,
worked with you guys to curate the supplements for the virtual clinic, we were lucky enough to be able to tap into your nutritionist and your team
yeah,
of experts to pull together a curation. And the categories that we spoke of, you're living that, but for the other people who are listening, and for me who doesn't have access to a nutrition brand and a supplements brand, I think performance and recovery is really a key part
yeah,
of um, lifespan and health span. Hair and metabolism, definitely, because how you look and how you metabolize food is really important. And I don't even think about it as necessarily an aging one for that particular product. I think that it can come from a period of stress. If you're in your 20s, you can lose your hair, your metabolism can go haywire. So I think that
absolutely.
that's for any age. And then
Absolutely.
we did obviously the beauty supplements that you
Yeah.
have, which is the collagens and also the sleep. I consider sleep a beauty category.
Sleep is one of the most underrated, I think, areas of beauty, of health. Like, if you don't get enough sleep, and if you don't get, actually, it's not even enough, it's like quality sleep, like deep sleep, then your hormones are all over the shop, your mood is all over the shop, there's weight gain, your skin,
Yeah.
like, you can buy all the creams in the world, and if you are not getting enough sleep, like, that's the thing, it's actually so underrated,
So for me, that product, I think that was maybe the second product I ever tried in your line. And I thought I had really good sleep. I actually was quite, until I started taking the sleep powder. And I started taking it during lockdowns,
Yeah.
where I had this, I didn't realize, like, this stress thing running in the background, and my sleep kind of started to fluctuate. And I started taking the sleep powder at night. And it really, really changed. And I thought, oh, am I taking more collagen? Is it because I'm not doing, but it was the sleep. The difference that made the difference, that I looked better, felt better, performed better, was taking a sleep supplement. So that was really interesting for me. And we added that to our curation. But the other thing that I was very excited that you launched, I think last year, was a nootropic.
Yes, yes, Beauty Buzz. So that's an adaptogen collagen coffee. And again, it's about how do so for us, it's like, how do we make products that are what we call smart? So it's like, they have to be effective. We know that that's like number one. We scientifically formulate, we make sure that they're effective and they work. So once we've got that, it's like, well, now how do we make it taste good? And how do we get it to work into your day to make it as kind of functional and as fantastic as we can? And we were like, why don't we do Beauty Buzz? So it's like an adaptogenic collagen coffee. So we get that whole nootropics benefit of, like, focus, stress adaptation, all of that. But then we go, great, let's add it to coffee. So you get the coffee buzz, but you don't
And
get
the
the
ritual
jitters.
of having a coffee. I think that you don't want to miss out on that, right?
So
Part of coffee, the
unreal.
pleasure of coffee is the ritual of coffee.
Ritual. And then that it's got the collagen in it. It's like, it's almost like you've ticked these three boxes all at once, and I mean, it tastes amazing. And so for us, we were really excited about that. And again, coming back to when people understand why you've done what you've done, that has been one of our best sellers, because people love the taste and the change in, like, when people say, like, I take it before I'm studying. I take it and I get more focused. Like the actual nootropic benefits that they find, so fantastic.
And let's just explain to anyone who doesn't know what an adaptogen is. I'd love
Yeah,
you to share
yeah,
why.
helps your body adapt basically to what it needs. So it's a fascinating area. So the ones that we have picked are they adapt to stress, so they're stress adapters, and then also for focus, so for clarity and focus. It's a very you'll often hear people talk about medicinal mushrooms or mushrooms, and we have some of those in our super greens as well. But they're adaptogens. That's essentially what it is.
So the way I take it is I fast, and that was one of the big resets for me. And I've been doing it now for 2 years. So I do a
Wow.
16-hour fast,
Every day or
non-negotiable, and it's the easiest thing in the world. And my mum is visiting me at the moment. She's like, "You don't eat breakfast." Why? And it's like, Mom, I feel so good. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I can exercise every day. I have energy. I can stay up till, late and have laser
such
sharp focus.
longevity benefits to fasting. Wow.
Correct. And I'm as fit as I've ever been, and certainly like my body fat and everything is
Yes.
in order. But what I was going to say is that with the adaptogens, the way that I am taking yours is because I fast in the morning. I just have like a black coffee or a coffee with a little bit of milk. But
Yes.
in the afternoon, instead of having another coffee, which I
Ah,
don't want to have to disrupt my sleep,
yes.
beauty bars, and that
Amazing.
definitely will take me through. That makes me like clear-headed, focused, ready to receive Lily after school with actual joyful energy rather than
Yes. Yes, the dip. That's the thing, right? That was a big thing for us. We were like, well, we don't want you to have the spike and then the collapse, so that's why it's like, how do we give it to you since you've got that sustained energy through and you've got the adaptogens there for focus and for stress. Yeah, well, I'm so happy. And this is, I think, the thing that sometimes people don't realize. You work on these products actually for so long, and there's so much tweaking and back and forth, and it's not just which ingredients do you put in there, but it's also to what amount, right? Like they need to be effective. Like there's no point. I mean, if you think about it, if I was to say to you, I don't know, let's just pretend a margarita, right? For want of a better example.
what a wonderful example. Yeah. Are you
I'll
making
make
adaptogenic margaritas? Because I mean,
and I'll add that to the list for next year. So imagine making your margarita, right? And there's two margaritas here. One has like this much, like, I don't know, vodka. Do you use vodka in margarita? I'm not too sure, or gin or whatever.
tequila,
And the other
darling,
one's got
tequila.
this much. Well, it's like, one, like they're not the same. And so it's like, we don't just go, oh, great, we'll put some collagen. Oh, great, we'll put some adaptogens. But it's like, how much? Like you need the right amount. Otherwise, it's not going to be effective. It won't work. So it's a science. We're not concocting in our kitchen.
Well, no, you're not concocting it, but you're trialing it on yourselves, and you are living proof. You said that you didn't so much go on a diet, but I did read somewhere recently a day on a plate with Sally Obermeder, and I think we've talked about this as well,
Yes.
because you are a foodie. You actually truly love and enjoy and appreciate food, and you've grown up in a home where food is important, and it's nice. It's one of life's pleasures, right? So.
Yes.
But I am curious, what were the adaptations or the changes or the things that you were able to walk away from?
So the things that I stopped doing were I stopped eating all the girls' leftovers, right? So that was a big thing for me because again, I come from a household, and it's funny how you revert back to what like waste, like, oh, that's such waste, and and kids are wasters, right? And so it's like I'm eating their food and my food, I'm eating their scraps even though I've already eaten. So I was like, I'm not doing that anymore, right? And I'm only also coming back to tapping in, like, am I actually hungry? Or like I'm a snacker, for example, and I'm a very much an emotional eater, right? So it's like, there's people who say like, oh, if I get stressed I go running. I'm like, no. I have the fridge. That's why they have the fridge, because as soon as I'm emotional, I go to the fridge. So I'm like, okay, what I'm actually going to do is, if I'm emotional, I'm going to take 5 and actually have some time out. Like, what is it that I feel emotional about? What am I upset about? What am I stressed about? Okay, do I want to just go for a walk around the block? Do I want to ring a friend? Do I want to just download and like lie on the couch and just stare into space? Do I want to watch the Kardashians for 30 minutes and decompress and then come back? And if after all of those things or any of those things, I'm like, you know what? I actually really would like a chocolate bar now. It's like, great, I'm still going to have it. That's fine. But as opposed to it being just habitual, it's like, if I want it, I can have it. Nothing's off limits. Because for me, as soon as it's off limits, I become crazy. And I also
Human
think
nature, right? I totally
human
agree.
nature. This is, and also it's not healthy. Like, I just think deprivation is not the way to go. But I definitely was able to walk away, because then I was like, well, if I want it, I can have it. But I'm not going to have it just on autopilot, just because I couldn't be bothered thinking, is this actually what I want or what I need? And then the other thing I just really started to think about was, kind of more, and it's funny because I'm an emotional eater and I think for many of us, we have a kind of a funny relationship with food. I started to think about it more like money. So if you say you're in your 20s and you're in Europe and you're like, I've got $100 a day to spend. And so then you're going to dinner and it's going to cost you $70. You've only got 30 to spend in the rest of the day. So you kind of like, you have the cheap, coffee on the go, and you have a pastry, and you save your kind of money for the back end of the day. So I started to think about my energy intake more in that way. It's like, I'm just going to, without a number, because I find if I go, oh, it's X calories or it's X kilojoules or it's these macros, like that for me doesn't work. But just generally speaking, I want to try and, use more than I'm intaking. And I go, okay, great. I know I'm going out for a really luxe dinner. I'm going to get the pasta, the bread, I'm having the wine, I'm doing the whole shebang. So cool. I'm going to have a lighter lunch. I'm having a lighter breakfast, and I'm having a blowout that I'm going to love at dinner. Amazing. If it's a normal day without that, then they're all kind of equal. And it just made, what I did was I gave myself a bit of thought. It's actually some
Wow.
self-care. I was no longer an afterthought. And that's actually the key. It's actually like, it's not like afterwards, like, oh, had I given myself a minute to think about myself? It's like, no, what do I actually need? I feel like I need a walk. I need to soak in a bath. I need to put a face mask on and watch TV. Like, I no longer became an afterthought. And I think as women, often we're so busy looking after everyone else, we become afterthoughts.
One of the things that I noticed in your transformation, you've always dressed beautifully, you're always groomed beautifully. Obviously, a huge career on TV makes you very aware that people are watching, and people are watching the tiniest things. So, you were always polished. But the thing that I noticed about you, and certainly in the past 6 months, is there has been kind of this revised look to Sally that I love. Like, every single time you step out, for me, it's breathtaking. And I feel like you're taking like more pleasure and more, you're more adventurous with color, with style. You're dressing less, not corporate, but I guess, and I don't know what to say about it, but there just seems to be a liveliness and a vitality in the way that you're dressing. Thank you. I wonder, like, is it because you've consciously thought, I'm just loving my body, I love how I feel, or is it a subconscious thing that you feel good, therefore the choices that you're making are reflecting that?
I think it's that I feel, I think it's a subconscious choice. I think it's that I feel really happy, and I feel
you're wearing a lot of color, and I can see you look happy.
I love color. Like, I actually really like color. And maybe it's also a couple of years of being in like active wear with the pandemic and stuff. So it's like I am reverting to color. And I think too, it's like I'm wearing what makes me happy. So it's like I'm trying, and it is a little bit hard, because I do think when you have spent a long time in the public eye, there's a very small part of you that's always like, oh, what if because people love to be a keyboard warrior and tell you what they don't like about what you're wearing or anything. So there's always a part of you that's a little bit like, oh, I kind of hope no one's upset if I wear this. But more and more, I think it's like, well, I mean, it's fashion. It's just a little bit of fun, it's like at the end of the day, you're going to be wearing something else tomorrow. So I'm just doing, I think, what makes me happy. And I feel good in color. I like color. Yeah,
and the styles too, and the reason I comment on it is, I guess, we're about the same age, and it's nice to feel nice.
Yeah.
And it's and when you do like where you're at with your health, your body, your energy, your life, I think that, one of the things that kind of is an expression of that is how you dress. So, people always say to me, I'd love to have some more content about fashion. And I go, well, I don't want to do content about fashion, because I genuinely believe wear what makes you happy and wear what suits you. And so to your point, I think that, that's why it's really joyful for me to see this kind of renaissance of a very joyful, very happy, colorful kind of fashion selling. I love it.
It's nice. And I think I like it too, because I see how the girls, so, my girls are like 10 and 5, right? And they are, and surprisingly, my 5-year-old really loves fashion, right? So she's very like, I want to help you get dressed, like get this, like, and I see how much they I guess the joy that they get out of it, like wear this dress and wear this necklace, and this kind of like, and I say to them, like, they'll be like, why did you get this one and why didn't you get that one? I'm like, this one just makes me happy, and so you'll even see, somebody made the comment to me, oh, it's refreshing that the kids, like my kids, are not kind of like, I'm paraphrasing, but basically like perfectly put together, right? And that's just because, and there's nothing wrong with that, like I would like them to be perfectly put together, but they resist. But my thing with them is like, wear what makes you happy. You would like to wear 3 skirts and leggings, like even though I'm dying inside, I don't mind. And you want to wear a swimsuit on top, sure, and a tutu on your head, fine. Like, even though it's like, I'd really like you to wear something like very polished, but I'm like, that makes you happy. That's the whole point of fashion, like wear it. Like, and they leave the house often, and I'm like, oh, I hope I don't see anyone I know.
It's funny because I think we don't want them to have the same conditioned life that we did, because when we were growing up, and certainly at a time in Australia, and we've talked about our parents before and our mums being quite strong forces. Lily was telling me a story the other day that when she's with my mum and she starts like giggling really loud in public or dancing, my mum will literally snap at her like this and go, public. Public. And I thought, oh my God, my mother absolutely did that to me, right? So I wasn't on TV. I didn't have a TV show, but I was always aware of public. Like, what will other people think, right? So now that I'm a nearly 50-year-old woman, I go, screw the public. I'm going to wear, I wore a dress the other night to a ball with a tutu, and it was short, and it was a bustier dress, and it literally looked like a prom dress.
I love it.
So happy because I didn't wear that to my prom because public,
right? And isn't that so nice when we can try to unwind? And it is hard to unwind things that are deeply ingrained, because I think ultimately for many of us, we still have those, our parents' voices in our heads, or it's the one that kind of, and when you can shake that off and go, this is just me and who I want to be, it's freaking refreshing.
Yeah, it's great. It's absolutely great. And back to your point of, you're raising a 5-year-old, you're raising a 10-year-old, I'm raising a 12-year-old. There's so much talk about the right language around health, fitness, diet, exercise, nutrition, sleep, sexuality. But I believe, and what I've experienced in my life, is it's not what you say, it's who you are and what they actually feel about them. We'll talk about their mother because we're both mothers. And recently, someone made a comment to me. A friend of mine said, oh, you look really skinny. Don't you eat anything? And Lily jumped into the conversation and she goes, my mum is actually one of the healthiest people I know. You don't see what she eats. When my mum is hungry, she goes and makes herself a big salad and she'll eat a big steak when she feels she has a lack of energy. And she can run, she can sprint. And I thought, I haven't told her that. I haven't lectured her on what to, what I eat, what she does, all of that. She's clocked it as healthy. And
Yeah.
she actually wanted to correct someone else shaming me because I was being body
Mm-hmm.
shamed essentially.
Mm-hmm. What I don't get the body shaming. Like, can I say I just don't get that? And I said this to someone recently, who added a comment underneath a picture and was like, so thin. And I was like, just I said, I know, or I'm hoping, and I suspect this is not, you're not trying to be mean, and I really appreciate this. But ask yourself, would you say so large to anybody? And I suspect no. And if it's a no, then this is exactly the same thing. And we don't do that. It's 2022. This is not what we do anymore, And she was like, oh, no, I definitely didn't mean it from a bad place. And I'm like, that's cool. So we don't need to say that, because also, again, back to where I started in the very beginning, it's not about the number on the clothes. It's not about the scales. It's not about any of those things. It's actually about who we are as people. And I know, for one, I'm precisely the same person I was at a different size. I'm the same person I was 2 years ago. Like, my inside, my values and my morals, they have not changed, even if my exterior has.
But I think that, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I think that your exterior changes, one's exterior changes, actually change the internal mechanisms as well. Because when you do decide to commit to health and well-being as a priority, may not be the same person that you were, having 7 cocktails instead of 2. So a lot of people who are used to that version of you, and that kind of sat better with them because it supported the kind of the tribe mentality of being kind of not so careful about your health and well-being. They may kind of push you out of the circle a little bit. Oh, she's no fun. She's not going to stay out, or you never eat dessert, or all those comments or whatever. Because I do think that when you commit to that,
yes,
you do change.
So maybe it's like, but it's not. So yes, you change, but it's, I guess where I'm coming from is like, it's not your morals haven't changed,
Yes,
your heart and soul
absolutely.
hasn't changed. But yes, you learn to value what's important to you. And I think it's also, you learn to look after yourself. And that's sometimes jarring to people. Sometimes
I watched a post that you did on the weekend and then I ran into you. It was funny because I saw, and I thought it was such a great post that you spent a whole day in bed. And I think it was on Saturday and I saw you on Sunday. And gave yourself permission not to do anything and to extract yourself from posting, reading, replying, running around doing sports, drop-offs, pickups, all of that. And I think, that's one of the things that we're talking about, is opting out of the things that actually you don't want to do anymore, or you never wanted to do.
And it's also permission to rest when you need it. And I think that's something that we really struggle with. Like, it's almost like we always feel like I had this whole day where I rested, but I wasn't sick. And that's actually, I think, the highlights. It wasn't like I had to wait to be sick. So like, oh, hey guys, I've got the flu, so I have to have a day off. Or like, I've been through a big year. I've done 1 million hours of work, and I basically got to the finale, and I was like, amazing. I'm now really tired. I need to have a rest day. I'm gonna, and not a and with no guilt,
Have you ever had adrenal exhaustion or fatigue? Have you ever experienced that?
When I was in investment banking, definitely. I remember going to a naturopath, and I'd never heard of it before. And he said to me, do you know what your adrenals are? And I was like, oh, I know about adrenaline. That's like if a bear comes out of a bush and you start running. And he's like, right. He's like, well, you have adrenal fatigue. This is going to be like 30 years ago. I'd never heard of it. And so, it's a very, very real thing.
And in terms of adrenal fatigue, one of the things that, most people equate it to is later on in life or in a really busy job. But we can have adrenal fatigue from emotional stress. We can have adrenal fatigue from, being in the wrong relationship. We can being pulled at so many different ends. And I'm wondering, did you notice how that affected your hormones? And is that one of the reasons that you prioritize rest so much now? Like, and you're happy to say, I'm not going to opt into hustle culture and only post about my achievements, but I'm actually going to show you what it looks like to rest?
Yeah, and so two things on that. One is that I'm very big on like posting both sides, and like again, I'm an open book, right? So if I'm up until 3 a.m. working because I've got a big project, I will post that, right? I don't mind, and I'll get plenty of like, I think that's really bad and you shouldn't share that. And I'll, in the same token, I'll get plenty of like, well, that's the reality of if you want to achieve something. I'm like, exactly. And it's like, it's not for me to, I can't please everybody, right? I can only be myself. And then, but at the same time, I'll also show you the flip side. Here I am, I'm having a rest day and I feel no guilt. So it's like, this is the reality of it. But in terms of the adrenal fatigue, yeah, absolutely. When I had it, I remember that time I was much younger. And I really noticed that it was true depletion, like empty, like literally like a car that just will not start, not for love nor money, like it's empty. But what I have noticed this time, and the reason I think I prioritize rest is not so much from that period, but it's definitely from maybe I think my cancer experience. Like I definitely try to not hit burnout. And I think as somebody who's wired to work a lot, like I do, I love it. I do love to I like to be active. I like to be physical. I like to do things like it's very satisfying to me, whether it's work or whether it's home or whatever it is. But I do also feel like I want to be very careful that my body doesn't run out, that I actually honor it by resting.
Let's wrap up with some beauty, some
Yeah.
traditional beauty things, because we talk about lots of beauty things a lot. And I know that with Swish, you have some great beauty products. And one of the products that I like the most is actually a tool,
Yes.
um, which is a lymphatic drainage tool, kind of like a gua sha for your body.
The body wash.
Um,
Yes.
wow, what an excellent product. Like,
Isn't it?
body brushing is one thing, and you do have a body brush that I love, but using a body gua sha is a whole nother level of
Well, because
excellence.
it's such like that whole circulation, like in your body, like I particularly kind of use it like in this mid thigh area, like that whole area just needs, it's neglected. Like if you think about like, well, yes, we'll rub some creams on our body, whatever, fake tan, but to actually stimulate that body, to stimulate the lymph, to stimulate the blood vessels and get that circulation going, it makes a big difference. And also just back to like just general self-care, it feels really good in the same way sometimes, like, if you buy a really beautiful shower gel or a shower oil or something that you love or a body cream, it's really nice to actually, I don't know, sometimes I went through a stage of calling it like life elevation, like these little things that you do and they're just like you just sort of go like, oh, this feels so nice, to look after yourself. And that's 5 minutes and it is effective AF. But if you do it every day, wow.
So what else do you do? We know what you take supplement wise, but what are the beauty things that you do? And you have to share any aesthetic things that you do as well.
So I do love a facial. I do love okay, so let's start. So I love facials. I love the thing where they do the stamping or whatever it's called.
Yes,
So
Dermapen.
yeah, Dermapen. I love that. I also
That's a great treatment for collagen induction. So for people who don't want to have fillers and don't want to have
yeah,
Botox, the
yeah,
Dermapen, what it does is it makes little micro holes and it induces your
stimulate.
own collagen, and it does really make a beautiful
I
difference.
really, really like it. I really like it. I like actives, obviously. So I use like an A, I use C, I moisturize. I use a sheet mask 3 out of probably 7 days. Like I do, because I just think, I don't know, like particularly I found in the last 6 months, my skin is drier. It's probably like back to sleep. I'm definitely not sleeping enough. Being in this big work period, so I wasn't sleeping enough, and I also wasn't. The balance was tipped towards work. So I was like, okay, what can I do that's a shortcut that's going to give me some
Yeah.
upside? So definitely, without a question, I do a sheet mask heaps. What else do I do? I do
You do
Botox.
LED masks?
But I'll say that again.
Do
What
you
mask?
use light therapy,
Yes,
LED masks?
yes, I have one. I love it. I
They
use
work.
that.
They work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they work. They definitely work.
Do
I
you
do
have
Botox
Botox?
in my armpits
Ah,
all the time. Like I've been doing that since TV, because basically we used to wear silk shirts all the time. It stops you sweating.
yeah, it
So
does.
yeah, I don't know. That's just a habit now. Like I always do that because I'm such a sweaty Betty. I would literally end up, with like sweat running down my armpits. I still do that.
Now,
What
I
else?
want you, I'm sorry to interject, and I know we're wrapping up, but I want to go to the collagen supplements that you take. And you had an accident during lockdown because
Yeah,
you spilt boiling hot coffee all down
yeah.
your neck and got third-degree burns.
I had second degree. Third degree is where you need a graft. So a second degree, but severe second degree. And because it was on, so I basically lifted my head up to have a drink out of this coffee, and it was a really large, long black. So it's boiling hot water. And something kind of jolted me, and I tipped the coffee, and it went all the way down. And when you get a burn here in the throat, what they're worried about is that the throat will close. So I
Oh
was
my
in an
God.
ambulance, and it was full on. It was full on. And she was saying to me, these horrific burns, basically down to the bone. You will have to come back 3 times a week for 3 months to keep getting the bandages changed and whatever. And the pain was insane. So I had them. I left the hospital. I came back the second, 2 days later to get the bandages changed. She changed them. She's like, I'll see you in 2 days. And basically, you and I are going to get to know each other very well, because you'll be here, 3 times a week for 3 months. And I was like, okay. And so I came back the third time, and she goes to change them. And she's like, what the actual fuck? She's like, you have healed. You don't need any bandages. I'm at Royal North Shore. And she's like, I've never in all my life of working in the burns unit seen anyone recover so quickly. And she's like, I don't understand. And I said, this is a long shot. I don't know. I said, but basically I've been having collagen for, let's say we launched collagen maybe 5 years ago. So maybe a year before we launched it,
Yeah.
I've been having it. So
Yeah.
6 years. And she said, without a doubt, I've never seen anybody's skin cells renew so quickly. She's like, you were here 1 week ago with fresh from the ambulance with a burn so severe, and I'm sending you home now with no bandages, with some cream for you to put on, and I hope I never see you again. And she's like, that is the most mind-blowing thing I've ever seen. And then she was like, will you send me some? And I was like, I will definitely send you some. Like it was, and I have all but like nothing of a scar.
It's extraordinary.
Wild.
I had abdominoplasty last year in October, and I take, and I continue to take collagen. And look, I think my scar is remarkable. I was cut like literally from hip to hip.
You see?
And I genuinely believe, because I'm not taking it for fun, I'm taking it because I believe in the science. And for me, anecdotal, my own experience is this, that my skin turnover is better. The quality of my skin is better. The scar healing is definitely better.
Yes.
But when you told me that story, it really stuck with me, because I think, yeah, true. Like, why are we taking it? If you don't believe it, don't take it. But it does work.
Oh, that for me was particularly because, like say the skin on your face, you don't notice that day to day, week to week, right? It might be when you see a friend, who you haven't seen, who's like, wow, your skin looks amazing, but you see your own skin every day, right? So it's when that happened for me that I was like, oh, this is unbelievable. This is actually unbelievable. It's amazing.
And have you had any and I know that this is often private for people, but you know, the show is called Ageless and we talk about aesthetics and procedures and everything. Other than your surgeries for cancer and stuff, have you ever had any cosmetic surgery or aesthetic procedures that you like, that you hate, that you, or ones that you're curious to try? Perhaps you haven't had any, but you're curious to try.
I haven't had any yet, but like never say never. And I think everyone should do whatever makes them happy, right? So I haven't had any yet. But I also think you just never know. So I had obviously, as part of my cancer, I had a double mastectomy and a reconstruction. And there are definitely times I'm like, will I get a boob lift? Maybe I'll get a boob lift, you know, like that's definitely. But I'm also, I think after having spent so long in a hospital, I'm also, part of me is reluctant to do that. I'm nervous, you know, like to
that, yeah.
voluntarily, you know, kind of do something. Yeah. But I suspect I'll get to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I need a boob lift. So I'm always like, whenever I see anyone who's had one, I'm like, how is it? Tell me. Like, is it good? Like, are you happy?
Do you know what I had? I didn't have a boob lift. I had an internal bra put in, which is like threads for your boobs. So it's I actually did an episode with my surgeon on the podcast, so you can watch it or listen to it.
Oh, really?
And so I didn't want to have anything foreign in my body. So it's just a mesh that you put under the breast and it meshes in with your body and it dissolves, but it's a collagen induction. So it actually creates a scaffolding and a lift for your boobs. And so I had this last year while I did my tummy because I had the stomach separation. So I fixed that. And he said, look, if you had fat, we could have taken fat from your tummy and put it in your boobs, but you don't have that. But if you want, I can put an internal bra in for you. And it's not at all invasive. But anyway, long story short, my boobs are like, yes, and I can go braless and it's lovely. Like it was one of the best things. And
what episode number? Asking for a friend.
Yeah, no, but you know, the trend is no more implants and stuff. You know, more people are going for explants.
Yes.
But there are some semi-natural things we can do, and I'm here for it.
Me too. Me too. See, I'm into that. Cool.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'll do, I think, in this next decade. Definitely.
I love it. Sal, it was so, I could speak to you forever. I am just so excited and happy for you. And you know, obviously,
thank you for your support always. You know, you know how much I adore you.
Yes, and I can't wait to see what's next. And if I may put something on the development list.
Please. Yep.
I want to know if these supplements that help gray hair yes. Is that a knowing grin?
No, it's a discussion we've had a lot lately. Yep.
So yeah, I've had a couple of labs look at products for me just to tell me whether or not I should take it, only because I'm in contact with, you know, doctors and scientists. And so far, there's nothing that they think is actually, as to your point, has the right level of ingredients to actually make a difference. Right. So I'm wondering if SWIISH Laboratory would do a friend a favor.
If we could just whip one up. We've actually looked at this. I think maybe we first started around the same time that we were formulating hair metabolism as a separate product. And exactly as they were saying, it was like, you need to have not gone grey. So once you've gone grey, it's too far. So you could do it before that. But like the effective, like it was so, currently, it's not that effective.
Yeah.
And we're like, and it's for such a small, like you really are taking it almost in a preventative window. But I don't know, you know what it's like before you've gone grey. You can never imagine going grey. And it's only once you've gone grey that you're like, oh, this is a bit of a shit show, like, you know, but then it's too late. So yeah, trust me, if there's one, we would definitely make it, because I'm doing my roots every 2 weeks at the rate I'm going.
Yes, it's because you got healthy hair growth. So it's actually a blessing. So you've taken the right supplements for the hair growth and the hair thickness. And now we need to make another supplement. Or you need to make another supplement.
Correct, I will.
I will be your first guinea pig. Thank you so much. Congratulations on the launch. And I'm super proud to have a curation of your best ageless products on the clinic. So love you.